The bridge is empty, no cars, no wind, no storm, and yet, watch the railing, it shifts. Not from vibration, but like the entire bridge just moved. Engineers later measured it, 7 inches overnight, but the strangest part isn't that it moved. It's when it moves, always the same hour, always the same direction. And one night, the cameras didn't just catch the bridge shifting, they caught something underneath it. That wasn't supposed to be there. By day, it's a landmark. A bridge so famous people take photos like it's part of the sky. Traffic flows, pedestrians laugh. Street performers play music at the entrances. And from above, it looks solid, permanent. But bridges aren't just steel and cables. They're living systems. They expand in heat, contract in cold, groan under weight. So when workers first reported movement, officials said the obvious thing, normal thermal expansion, case closed. Except that explanation fell apart the moment they checked the time-stamped footage. Because thermal expansion doesn't happen like this, in one sudden, silent shift at a precise hour when the bridge is completely empty. A security guard named Luis was the first person to notice the pattern. Luis worked the midnight shift for years. He knew every shadow and reflection on the cameras. One night, he watched the feed and frowned. Because the bridge on camera looked like it jumped, he rewound, played it again. At 2:43 a.m., the image didn't shake like an earthquake. The bridge didn't bounce like a heavy truck. It slid. A smooth sideways movement like a giant hand nudged it. Luis checked the weather log. No wind, no storm. No seismic activity. Then he looked at the week before. 2:43 a.m., and the week before that, 2:43 a.m., same time, same direction, same amount. Give or take, Luis didn't tell anyone at first, because you don't want to be the guy who says a bridge is moving by itself. But then the metal started to prove him right. At the end of the month, a maintenance crew inspected the expansion joints. That's where the bridge flexes, where engineers expect normal movement, but what they found wasn't normal. Fresh scrape marks. Bright, silver lines on steel that should have been painted and weathered. One worker said the marks looked like the bridge had been dragged against its own hardware. Repeatedly, they measured the spacing. It matched the camera footage. 7 inches, not over years, not over storms, over a single night. And then someone found something else, something that didn't belong in a report. A note taped inside the maintenance locker, no signature. Just 3 words. Don't stay late. Luis couldn't let it go. So he did the one thing nobody was supposed to do. He went onto the bridge at night alone, a few minutes before 2:43. At 2:42, everything felt normal. At 2:42 and 30 seconds, the air changed. Luis later described it like this, like the bridge was holding its breath. Then he heard it, not a bang, not a snap. A low, heavy groan rising from below the deck, like metal bending, but too deep to be just metal, and underneath that sound, a second one, a faint hum, the kind you feel in your teeth more than you hear. Luis turned his flashlight toward the water. The beam hit the surface and vanished into darkness. Then his radio crackled, not with voices, but with static, loud and sharp. And right as his phone clock hit 2:43 a.m., the bridge moved. Luis didn't fall, he didn't stumble. He said it felt like standing inside an elevator when it starts to descend. A smooth slide, but the river didn't move, the wind didn't move. Only the bridge, and from the black water below. Something made a small ripple, as if something had surfaced. Just long enough to watch. The next night, Luis set up a test. He convinced the camera tech to zoom a high-resolution unit under the central span, a spot with the clearest view of the bridge's underside. They waited 2:41, 2:42, 2 hours 42 minutes and 50 seconds. The hum returned faint, but visible in the audio wave on their monitoring software. Then, every camera pointed at the center span went black. Not static, not blurry black, for exactly 9 seconds. When the feed returned, the bridge was still there, but something had changed. A maintenance ladder hanging underneath one that always faced west was now facing slightly south. As if the structure had shifted and dragged it, and on the water below, there was a disturbance. A long, straight line of ripples, like something large had moved just under the surface. That's when someone brought up the story. The story locals hate because it's too old to prove and too specific to ignore. Before the bridge existed, the river was known for something else. A deep channel in the center, a place boats avoided because compasses behaved strangely. Old fishermen called it the pull. They said if you anchored too close, the water felt heavy, like it didn't want to let go. When the bridge was built, there were accidents quietly recorded, quickly forgotten. One journal entry from a foreman described something that made everyone in the room go silent. At night, the cables sing, the river answers. Most people laughed it off as superstition until the bridge began moving. At 2:43 a.m., officials finally called in structural engineers. They installed strain gauges, accelerometers, temperature sensors. They tested for thermal expansion, wind load, vibration, even traffic resonance, and the results came back with a comforting conclusion. Minor movement within expected tolerance, but Luis saw the raw data. One sensor, mounted near the center span, recorded a spike at 2:43 a.m. every night. Not heat, not wind, a horizontal pull. A force applied from a direction that wasn't traffic and wasn't weather, from below, from the river. Luis asked the engineer, "What could cause that?" The engineer paused, then said carefully, "Something would have to be attached." So they did what you do when you suspect something is attached below. They searched. A small team went out on a boat just after midnight with sonar and a downward camera. At first, nothing but dark water and drifting debris. Then the sonar showed a shape near the center channel, long, narrow, parallel to the bridge, too straight to be a fallen tree, too steady to be a fish. The operator adjusted the gain. The shape didn't fade. It got clearer, and right as they hovered above it, the depth reading dropped suddenly by a few feet, like the riverbed beneath them had shifted. Then the boat rocked. Not from waves, from something moving below. The operator whispered, "Is that a cable?" But it wasn't a cable. The camera feed flickered. And for one clean second, it showed a dark line rising from the riverbed and splitting into multiple strands. Like fingers, like hooks. Then everything went to static. The searchlight on the boat went out, and across the river the bridge lights flickered twice. In the morning, the bridge looked fine, no collapse. No disaster, just commuters, coffee cups, normal life, but underneath. New scrape marks appeared. Fresh, bright steel, like something had rubbed hard against it. And one of the engineers found something they couldn't explain. A bolt on a support plate had rotated, not loosened, not stripped, rotated into a different alignment, like the bridge had been reset into a position it preferred. That's when Luis said something that sounded insane until you think about it. He said, "What if the bridge isn't failing? What if it's adjusting? What if something beneath the water pulls it and the bridge pulls back? A silent tug-of-war, every night." At 2:43, maybe it's physics. Maybe it's hidden currents and shifting sediment. Maybe it's something that engineers can explain. Someday, but if that's true, why did the cameras go black for exactly 9 seconds? Why does the pull happen like a schedule? And why does the river feel like it's waiting? So here's the question. If you knew a bridge moved when no one was watching, would you still cross it? Comment your theory below natural forces or something else. And if you want more mysteries the world can't fully explain, hit like and subscribe. Because the next secret might be hiding in a place you drive past every day.